YouTube, hello, welcome to Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. If this is your first time seeing one of my videos, welcome on in. Hope you're doing well. We do a variety of content here. Make sure you check us out. If you're a returner, thanks for coming back. Hope you're enjoying the Ever Crisis content. This is going to be a beginner's guide to Ever Crisis in 2025. So this is going to kind of cover everything that the game has to offer, as well as some like general tips and tricks in terms of like how you should be completing your dailies every day, you know, what banners to pull on, etc. I do have like individual videos that I'll detail while I'm going through this full explanation, but I've got chapters here for anybody that wants to skip along to a thing that they're looking for more information about, something that they're not 100% sure on. Or if you're just on the edge and you don't know if you want to play Ever Crisis, I'm hoping that this video is for you. So I appreciate you tuning in. I'm going to try to help you best navigate this as a free-to-play player, and we're just going to go from there, man. So we're going to start things off with just every single category you're going to see on here. I'm going to break it all down for everybody. So we're going to start with the home screen and just start with the story. So basically in the story, this is as simple as it gets. These are just plot. This is just plot. This is a condensed retelling of the original Final Fantasy VII storyline that is just meant to be a way for you to consume the original Final Fantasy VII plot without having to play the original game. So what that means is when you go ahead and click select on Final Fantasy VII and you go down to your, it'll load up, you'll go to your first chapter, and in the very first chapter, you'll start in the city of Midgar, right outside of Mako Reactor 1, same way that you do in the game. It's just chibified down, and it's just a way for you to re-experience the story without having to play through the entire game all over again, right? And so the goal of this isn't to like be a replacement for Final Fantasy VII. It's supposed to be a condensed version of Final Fantasy VII, so that if you didn't want to necessarily get back into the game, or maybe, you know, the 1997 released Final Fantasy VII isn't your cup of tea, but you wanted to have some kind of a refresher before you go into the remakes trilogy, right? This is a good way to do so. It's not complete yet. None of the stories are yet. However, it is going to be a very good way to experience the plot in general. So that's what Final Fantasy VII and what Crisis Core are both about. It's just re-experiencing both of those plots without having to play the game. Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier is a brand new story that revolves around Sephiroth and the growth of Sephiroth. It starts with 3 brand new characters named Glenn, Lucia, and Matt. And it introduces them, kind of gives you their backgrounds, a little bit of their background, mostly their personality types, kind of how they are as characters, kind of get you familiarized with them before Sephiroth is included in the plot. And then Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier Episode 2 is a continuation of Sephiroth's story. He meets Angeal, and it's all about his journey to obtain the Masamune, which is very, very, very interesting so far. It's still super early in the story as of this recording, which is on January 3rd, 2025. So super good time to get into it. There's a lot of really cool stuff here. I get the feeling that some of this is probably going to be relevant when we go into the 3rd remake game. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely worth checking out. It's been a lot of fun so far. The story has been. I enjoyed both of these 2 original plots. So if you haven't had a chance to check those out, you absolutely should. What they've done with the main story is that they've made it very simple for folks to beat, right? You don't have to go super hard in the paint to beat these quests. Most of them are pretty low in terms of the actual overall power. Like 71,000 power seems like a lot, but when you go into chapter 7, which just got released a little while ago, your team is well beyond this at this point, right? If I just hit select and it'll auto formation a party for me. See how it said recommended formation's been applied. This recommended party, which is not efficiently built, is at 480,000 power. So significantly past what this fight is asking for, right? So by the time you do your progressions and get to this point, you will be strong enough to be able to clear this content. And the only thing that is difficult are fights that are called extra fights. Now these extra fights are meant to be challenging. So these are meant to be something that challenges you as an individual, challenges your party builds, challenges your actual building prowess. And it's a way for you to like fight one of the bosses from that chapter at a more difficult power level to get some free rewards, or some rewards for feeding it. So you'll get an icon, you'll get some crystals, you'll get some blue crystals, which blue crystals are the free to earn premium resource in this game that are used for things like expanding materia slots, which we'll get into later, pulling on the gacha banners, and etc. The blue crystals in this game are basically the rarest materials and the ones that you want to hold on to the most and use as sparingly as possible, because they are used for the highest value return on anything in the game. So we'll get more into that as we continue through the plot here, but as we continue through the guide here. But yeah, so these extra fights, you might not be able to complete it right away, and if you can't, don't worry about it. This is permanent content. You're going to hear me say that a lot in the next 25 minutes or so, but this is permanent content and is not going anywhere. So if you're not currently strong enough to beat this, that's okay. You just move on to something else. You go away for a bit, get stronger, and then as you get stronger, you can come back, try it again, get your crystals and your icon then. Since these quests don't cost in-game stamina, which we'll talk about in a second here as well, once your stamina has been used, this is a great time to go tackle your story quest, right? Because these story quests don't cost any stamina to complete, so you can just come in here while your stamina is recharging, get some of the plot done, and then by the time you're done clearing some of the story missions, you'll probably have a little bit more stamina to try something else that costs stamina. So that pretty much covers the story part of it. Really quickly, let's talk about the bar on the top. So stamina, this is what I was talking about before. This is what's used for any type of quest that gives you resources, any type of event quest. Event quest always costs stamina. Anything that's involving like premium or upgraded resources typically involves using stamina. Stamina recharges pretty quickly in this game. Overall, I can usually use all 263 of my stamina twice a day. So I usually do it after the update, which is about at 9 p.m. Eastern is usually when the full update comes out. It does turn over at 3 p.m. Eastern, like that's when the day turns over, but the full update usually comes out around 9. So I usually use my stamina all then, and then in the morning when I wake up, I have breakfast and I use my stamina then. And those are the 2 times that I log in, and it usually is more than enough to get through all of my dailies, to get through all of the quests that I'm trying to do. And that's kind of how the stamina system works. These are blue crystals, which I was talking about before. These are the free to earn premium resource that are used for various different things, including the things I mentioned before, like the premium draws, enhancing materias, stuff like that. Red crystals are the pay to earn premium resource. They essentially function the same way as blue crystals, except for the fact that there are bundles in the shop that we'll go over later that are done with red crystals. So there are specific items and banners that revolve around red crystals. So these are only if you purchase them. These are not obtainable any other way besides purchasing them. So these are the free to earn ones. These are the pay to earn ones. And that pretty much covers the bar. So that's the story content. That's kind of what to expect from the bar up top. Your player level is essentially just how much content you've cleared. Every time you clear a quest, every time you do something in event quest, in solo content, in co-op content, etc., you'll get a little bit of player experience. And every time you grow a player level, your stamina increases, right? So that's kind of what you can expect from the player level. Player level is simply just a way for your stamina to increase. So moving right along, there are 2 sections for the battle section. One is solo content. So in solo content, this is where we start to get in the meat and potatoes of the grind, quote unquote, of Ever Crisis. So this is going to be a pretty lengthy segment. First one's pretty simple though. This is daily quest. So daily quests include always, every single day, there will be a guild related quest. And this is a resource that you can use to buy enhanced items, to buy or enhanced weapons, to buy items. And that's kind of what guild is. Really the only reason guild is used, right, is just for those main reasons. This quest comes out every day. There, as you can see, it does not cost any stamina. You can just click select and roll right through it. You can make whatever fire team you want to make sure that you get it done. There is also a second quest that happens twice a week that is a weapon parts quest. And we'll get more into weapon parts later in the video. But these weapon parts essentially enhance your weapons and increase their power level. So you'll be able to do that twice a day, and you can choose which 5 weapons that you obtain weapon parts for. It is a small amount of weapon parts, but it does add up over time as long as you complete those quests every day. So make sure that you complete your daily quest every single day, because those are just easy ways to get free resources that are otherwise just, wasted if you don't do it. So that's daily quest. Enhancement quest. This is the home for materials to enhance your characters, their weapons, and materia. It also includes your daily premium quests, which we'll talk about in more detail in a sec. Starting off, we've got weapon quest. Weapon quests have various quests to help you upgrade your weapons. There are 3 low grade types. So you've got your steel, your electrum, and your rose gold. and 2 mid to high grade types, which are nanocubes and genome pods. These items are largely obtainable from things like the Highwind, Chocobo, event quest, etc. So outside of first clearing these quests for the crystals that you can obtain, you see how it says first clear and there's some crystals here. You do want to get all of these crystals, but after you get these crystals the first time through, you probably won't spend a lot of time here, because a lot of these items that you can obtain from these quests, you'll find that you get these just from completing other event quests, completing co-op quests, things like that. You'll find this stuff kind of fairly easy to get, right? You can see I've got 1200 of the high grade steel, I've got 906 of the mid grade steel, got over 1400 of the low grade steel, and I haven't done one of these quests in ages. Basically since like the first few weeks that we played the game back in September of 2023. So it's been a long time since I've touched these quests. It'll be a long time since you have to touch these quests. So make sure you go through these, get your first clears done, and then once you've got your first clears done, you can move on. Next up, we've got training quests. Training quests are focused on building up your roster of characters. There are 0 stamina character experience quests that you can farm passively, so this does not cost stamina, and you can kind of get experience from these quests as well. They do not give a ton of experience, and since there isn't really like an auto battle way to just kind of walk away from your PC and let this auto battle, you do have to click a few times. Outside of having this up while you're actively doing something else and making sure you're restarting the battle, going through that, you're not going to get a ton of return on investment on this. However, it is 0 experience. If you aren't doing anything else and you're able to let this run on the side, you can help get some of your characters leveled up. It's a great way to do so. If you have nothing going on, you're out of stamina, you've already cleared all the other content, but you still want to play the game, this is a great way to just have some fun with it and level up your characters a bit. Although character experience quests may seem like the best place to farm experience, they're actually not much better than just running high-level event quests, so they're mostly unnecessary. Much like the previous section where we were talking about weapon quest, these are mostly just to get your first clear, you can kind of move on. You do get a lot of experience from these quests, but you're going to find that you're getting pretty decent experience from just clearing event quests, co-op quests, etc. So after you clear these for the first time, you can pretty much move on. This is a great way to grind a character up quickly if you need to, but again, it's not prioritized. You don't want to do this because you're only getting gil as a reward. And generally speaking, when you're spending your stamina on something, you want to be able to get a reward in return that helps your account get stronger. And although this does level up your character, it's not necessarily improving your ability to increase your weapon stats, to increase your character stats, right? So if you're not getting those things in return, it makes it kind of bad, not necessarily bad, you understand what I mean, but it makes it less efficient to utilize your stamina in this way. And then finally in the training quest, we have the pieces quest. You'll find that we have the generic pieces, then power, magic, and healing pieces quest. These quests are quests that you can get these individual pieces, and these are ways to enhance your characters through their growth streams, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the video. These items are mostly farmable through other passive means. So generally speaking, you will not need to do these quests outside of their initial clear. However, if you are trying to level up somebody's growth stream and you already have obtained all of the available pieces you can get for the day and you need to get that character upgraded immediately, this is where you would go. If you're looking for just a generic even across the board, you would do the regular pieces quest. 99% of the time, I would tell you to just go into the individual piece that you need the most. So generally speaking, for me, that ends up being the healing piece. I tend to run out of the healing pieces faster than the other 2 pieces combined. As you can see, I've got 14,000 magic pieces still. I usually go into the piece that I need the most. I click select, I go through this fight, and then you'll get a tiny bit more of the healing pieces than you will the power or magic pieces. Again, you will typically get enough of these throughout just clearing regular content, but as you're first starting to get your characters off the ground through their growth streams, which again, we'll talk about growth streams a little bit later in the video, you'll find yourself running low on these resources often. So as a result, try to focus in on just a few characters that you want to level up first and get those characters leveled up first. That way you're focusing your resources into just 3 characters instead of the full roster, because you're not going to have enough resources at the beginning to level up every single character in the game, right? And if you have one team that's just simply good and strong, you'll be able to clear most of the limited content in this game with a good roster of 3. And all of the characters in this game, this is another part of what makes Ever Crisis great. All of the characters in this game are capable of being a damage dealer, are capable of being a healer, are capable of being a support character, etc. You don't have to think, oh, well, Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa are getting all of the best outfits, are getting all of the best weapons, so I should use those three. That will work, like, if they have those if they are the strongest in the game, right? But if you want to use the first soldier characters, there are enough weapons in the game and enough power for all three of those characters that you'll be able to do it with just the first soldier team if you wanted to. Will it be a little bit more challenging? In some places, yes. But as you're first getting started, don't think about that kind of stuff. It's not that big of a deal. Most of the things that you're going to be running up against will either rerun in terms of some of the events that's rerunning. So like right now, there's a Sephiroth event coming out, or that's out right now. This is the third time that we've had that Sephiroth quest in the last year and a half. So don't get the FOMO. Don't feel too bad about it. Focus on a couple of characters, and then you won't find yourself running low on these pieces very often. Next up is Synthesis Quest. Synthesis Quests allow you to farm for one of the 6 available elemental type of materia materials. These are also obtainable through passive means, so you won't have to spend much time here either outside of the initial clear for the Materia recipe, which you can see here on the first clear for the first quest. And then the first clear crystals as well. Obviously, each one, as you scroll down, you'll see each one has first clear crystals. So make sure you get your crystals here. Again, these crystals are very valuable, and these recipes are the only ways that you're going to be able to make materia, which we'll talk about when we get down to the Enhanced tab. But last but not least, we've got the Premium Quest. These Premium Quests are high-level, high-return materials that you normally can only get in limited quantities in exchange shops. So these are quests that you want to complete every single day. You only get 3 every single day. And these will allow you to get your weapons upgraded to high levels. This will allow you to upgrade your character's growth streams using these character memories that you're going to need for every single character in order to level them up. And the quests here, they're all fairly useful in terms of what they return and what they provide. In terms of prioritizing, in the early stages, you should probably just focus on trying to get your first clears to get the crystals right, and then focus on getting all those crystals together, and then come back and just get whatever you need to upgrade the weapons that you obtain from your draws, which we'll get into that far later in the video. But once you get a couple of weapons that you like, that you want to upgrade, then you should focus on getting the materials then that upgrade that weapon and the character memories that go with the weapon, right? Otherwise, just do your 3 every day. Doesn't really matter where you use them. Eventually, you'll get to a point where you have to do these bottom ones because these are a lot more rare. These orange genome pods, and then the orange these orange nanocubes as well are more rare than the ones underneath them. So you'll find that you'll need those a little bit more often. Again, I've been playing since day one, so don't look at oh, he's got 600. That's not a little. It is for me, but like, because I've got 1,000 of the little guys, right? So like, it's just from playing the game every day. This is what I'm talking about when I say like, eventually it'll just kind of farm itself. But in the first going, it can be a little overwhelming. So when it comes to the premium quest, just make sure that you complete your 3 every single day in any one of the quests that you're capable of doing. Again, prioritizing first clearing every single quest to get those crystals back for your account. And that covers the enhancement quest. Moving right along, we move to the summon quest. So this summon quest contain all of the summon limit breaks in Ever Crisis, which currently consist of Ifrit, Shiva, Ramu, Leviathan, Titan, and Bahamut. It also includes 2 double summons, Ifrit and Bahamut, and Shiva and Ramu. More on those in a bit. So individual summons need to be bound before you can use them. You can bind them by clicking this growth tab, going to the summons area, and then when you click on or switch to a summon, if you haven't bound them before, when you switch to a summon, there'll be a quest that just says bind down in the bottom right hand corner, and you're able to bind this quest that you must complete in order to unlock the character. And then once you get this unlock summon ability stuff going, this is where you get to unlock missions that help you unlock each character. Before you even touch a single summon quest, make sure that you are bound to the summon that you are fighting. Because you have to clear the Trial of Summons Titan normal 1 time. Don't waste your stamina, make sure you're bound to this first, then go fight it, right? Everything else in here is fairly simple. Consuming stamina is something you'll do naturally, right? delivering Titan's memory times 10. You get Titan memories as a reward for defeating Titan in those quests. So this is very simple. Geo ores are just ores that you get from passively farming or those earth related quests, and physical chips are also a reward from those material quests as well. In terms of what you should complete, the answer will always lie in your current loadouts. So as an example, if you've got a full fire team, right, it makes more sense for you to get Ifrit super leveled up, right? You want to make sure that you get Ifrit as leveled up as you can, and then that way your fire damage is enhanced as a result, right? Same with Shiva, same with Ramu, whatever element you currently got a really strong handle on, make sure you prioritize that one first. That said, this does kind of increase in difficulty as you go down. So Ifrit is likely the easier one of the list that you'll be able to complete, then Shiva, then Ramu, then Leviathan, then Titan, then Bahamut. Bahamut is by far the hardest of the lot so far, because these ones all have elemental weaknesses that you can exploit, where Bahamut does not. And Bahamut also has team-wide area attacks that do a lot of a lot of damage. So if you feel like you aren't able to do this just yet, that's probably by design, right? So don't think about it too much. You can just come back to it later. It's not that big of a deal. So moving right along, we go down to our double summons. So these double summons are summons that enhance your party's ability to deal a certain type of elemental damage. Currently, Ifrit and Bahamut enhance fire damage. Shiva and Ramu have two abilities. One enhances ice and the other enhances lightning. These are both incredibly useful. These are both incredibly powerful. And as soon as you're able to complete these, you should, right? Because they will enhance your team's ability to do those types of damage. However, these quests are a lot harder than the individual fights, as you would expect. And there are plenty of guides over on YouTube that show you kind of the breakdown of how to win these fights. And once you get to those power levels, you'll be able to get through these fights relatively simply. I'm not going to go into the full details today. I'm trying to keep things kind of broad as we break down the individual game mechanics. But make sure that you're trying to get all of these summons unlocked, try to get all of them to their AoE attacks, to their second attacks, and try to just boost them up as best you can whenever you have an opportunity. Next up is story quests. So the story quests are individual character quests that unlock as you progress through the game. This unlocks some extra never before seen content for Cloud, Barret, Tifa, and Aerith that I think you'll find pretty interesting. So make sure that once you have these unlocked, that you go complete these, because I think you'll enjoy the quest or the little bit of story plot that they give you for the 4 individual characters. Moving along to dungeons. Dungeons are challenge quests that have you maneuvering around a specific area from one of the 3 stories while completing challenges for excellent rewards. Criterion dungeons are permanent dungeons with simple missions for some gacha tickets. And gacha tickets, as you'll see here, are these little brown tickets. These are used to get a free pull that are not on a stamp card. And we'll talk about all the stamp cards and stuff like that in a bit. But these gacha tickets are ways for you to get new weapons for your characters. So as you continue to progress through the game and you're able to defeat these missions using these missions as a way to gauge where your power level's at, once you're able to clear these, make sure you go through, clear all of these as soon as possible, because there's a ton of free resources here and it's a good way to gauge your team's power level. These, much like story quests, do not cost stamina and have no resource required in order to jump in and give it a shot. So whenever you have time to give it a shot, make sure you jump in and try. Crisis dungeons, on the other hand, do cost a premium resource. It's this ticket up at the top called a dungeon key. Now these dungeon keys replenish every Sunday and you get 3 of them every single week. So every single week, by the time Sunday rolls around, you want to make sure that you're using at least 3 of these keys to give these quests a shot. Odds are pretty strong early on that you'll struggle to clear some of the content, but as you can see in this Maka Reactor 1 Crisis dungeon, you only need to get to about 32,000 power, which is fairly easy to hit nowadays than it was back when the game first released. So as you continue to progress the story, as you continue to level up your characters, make sure that you're giving these Crisis dungeons a shot. The reason why it's so important is Crisis dungeons have a slew of first-time rewards that include premium resources for weapons, including Crisis medals, blue crystals, and the real reason that you're excited about this is Materia recipes. They exist within these dungeons in the hard mode difficulties. Usually they'll come with some type of recipe that'll help you improve your team as you continue to progress. Not every single one of these will include a recipe for a materia, But make sure that when you're looking through this and you're looking through the first time rewards, you can kind of scroll down, and as you scroll down, you'll see there'll be a book sitting here, and that book is your showcase of being like, oh man, there's a new materia here that I don't have access to yet. And so when you're able to do that and you see that first time reward for that book, which I'm terrible at finding today, just awful at finding today. There we go. So we've got first clear rewards, rank C, and you've got this little book. So this is a way for you to get a new materia recipe that allows you to make a brand new materia. So the way that crisis dungeons work is that you'll be tasked with fighting an individual boss, and these bosses are called symbols. So there'll be about 4 or 5 symbols in each area, and every time you fight a symbol and you win, you'll be presented with 3 upgrades. So these upgrades may range from increasing your damage, increasing your physical defense, increasing your magic defense, giving you resistances to certain status effects, etc., or in decreasing some of your abilities and increasing, say, something like your score, because as you can see with the S pluses, you do get a score in these dungeons, and that score bonus might have to help you get to that S plus versus, say, like just a regular S. Every time you defeat a symbol, the enemies in the crisis dungeon increase in power. So as you fight the 1, the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th symbol, the 5th symbol then is as powered up as it's going to be. So it really makes you think about like which symbols you want to fight first, which direction you want to go, what path you want to take, and what buffs and debuffs you want to put onto your party in order to ensure that when you get to the final boss fight at the end, that you're capable of taking it down with relative ease. Certain things affect your score in these modes, such as how much damage you're dealing in a single hit, how quickly you defeat each fight, how much damage you take, etc. So as you're going through this, try to win these fights as quickly as possible, taking as little damage as possible while dealing as high of single target damage as you possibly can to maximize the amount of points you'll get from every single fight. Although most of these crisis dungeons are permanent content, as you can see, they don't have expiration dates. They do rotate out very hard dungeons. As you can see, this one just started recently this month and lasts for basically the entire month with an extra day probably in there was cushion into February 1st. But these dungeons will update once a month with the very hard quest. So make sure that when you're going through these quests that you give these a shot at least, to try you give it your best shot before it rotates out, because these dungeons usually don't come back for a few months. And obviously with the very hard quest, you'll find that you're getting a lot of really great premium rewards. So make sure that you're coming in here, at least giving it a good solid attempt before it rotates out to the next crisis dungeon. Speaking to crisis medals, you can see an exchange shop down at the bottom left here below. These crisis medals are used for things like obtaining Buster Sword upgrades, which are just a weapon, the way for you to upgrade your weapon, which we'll talk about weapon upgrades later on. Also includes things like Materia, some premium resources like Mithril Ore, which is used to upgrade your weapon to level 90 and beyond. Materia materials, including synthesis pieces, any type of like materia boosters. You also have some bookmarks, which helps decrease the amount of time that your materia needs to actually cook. There are 2 different types of Buster Swords, one for Zack and Cloud, so you can make sure you're getting one of each for them, and a 5-star guaranteed weapon draw ticket, which when you pull on this banner gives you a 5-star weapon guaranteed, which is the highest outside of ultimate weapons that you can get from a draw. So these are incredibly valuable, and you want to try to get these every single month because, as you can see, they restock once a month. So make sure that you're trying to get these every single month if you can. In terms of the other rewards in here, such as the materia, the premium resources that are like obtainable through events and such as Mithril Ores, right? You can get Mithril Ores elsewhere. I tend to not spend my crisis medals on these unless I absolutely need them, just because every month I'm expecting to spend, 2,500 on each Buster Sword, which is 5,000 crisis medals, then another 2,500 for the gacha ticket. That's 7,500 every month that I'm planning on spending on the items that are already in the shop. And as you can see, I've got 14,000. So right now I can do that for 2 months. But just as that example, that's actually not many crisis medals that I have sitting in my closet. So that's why I'm just leaving them sit there for now, and I'm not doing anything with them. You can do whatever you'd like. If you think that something would help push you over the limit, feel free to get it. I got a Fire Breach Materia early on to help me with a quest that I needed help with, and it did end up helping me. So I'm far be it from me to tell you not to at least like go grab something, right? But now Unlike back then the breach materials were not able to be crafted. Now all of these breach materials can be crafted in the materia section, so you don't actually need to buy these anymore. And just like that, the fire, blizzard, and thunder materials are all able to be crafted as well. So since you can just craft these, I would just tell you to craft these instead of wasting the crisis metals. Now it's a little bit different than it was back in 2023 when the game came out. And finally, in solo content, we have challenge quest. There are two types of challenge quests: battle tower and the max damage challenge. In the battle tower, there are 6 different challenges that you can take on. One is the sealed tower of the Cetra, and then there are 5 individual coliseums that have limited character parties that you can actually build in order to progress in those parties. Starting with the sealed tower of the Cetra, this is a permanent content tower where you progress through by fighting each basement floor with various battle effects that either amplify you or amplify your opponents. So as you can see early on, it increases your damage. And as you continue to go down in the list, you'll find that you start to see enemy HP increased. Whoa, like you can start to see these things happening where they're starting to buff the opponent versus buffing you. In this case, they're actually nerfing your materia usage. So your materia will do 50% less damage than it would have otherwise, while your enemy has 100% HP, right? So there are things here that are specifically meant to help you, but there's also stuff that hinders you as you continue to progress down here. Every 5 floors in the battle tower provides some crystals. So as you descend further, the difficulty will rise, but you'll also be able to get some more resources as you go down, which will help you boost your characters back up, which will help you come back and clear some more content. As I said before, this is permanent content. So if you do hit a wall, this does not cost stamina. If you hit a wall and you're not capable of getting past, say, floor 30, you can just go, okay, that's where I'm at for today, and just back out. In terms of the Coliseum, these are a bit more challenging because you're stuck using specific party members. And if you haven't worked on those party members or you don't have good weapons for those party members, these can be pretty difficult. The good news is that the Coliseums are meant for a way for you to get a premium resource, a premium memory crystal that is used to help grow your character past level 70. So if your characters are not even at level 70 yet, you don't even have to think about these just yet, right? These quests will be here forever. These are permanent content. You'll be able to clear these later on. Once you do get to those levels though, you want to make sure that you're using obviously the 3 party members that are capable of being used. You get up to 4 in each and every one. And as you can see, much like the battle tower, starts lower, and then as it progressively gets deeper, it progressively gets more challenging. So food for thought. These aren't necessarily something you need to jump into right away. So don't even worry about this until your characters are a little bit more leveled up and your player level is a little higher. And that covers everything in the solo content menu. Going into the co-op content, these fights, unfortunately, are not done as often as you might think. The co-op content that's typically played is usually an event quest, which we're going to touch base on in just a few minutes here. Generally speaking, with these co-op contents, you just kind of want to do these for the first time, get your first clears and move on. If you've got some friends or some guild mates, which we'll talk about guilds in a few moments as well. If you got some guild mates that are willing to help you clear these for the first time just to get you your crystals, that's great. These are great ways to farm these materials, but typically people aren't playing in these co-op quests as much as they used to, mostly because the reward for your stamina isn't as high in this quest as it is, say, co-oping an event, right? So you'll find that most people that are playing co-op content right now are co-oping in the events versus the actual co-op section. The one thing that you do want to make sure of in the co-op section is each and every week they update the exchange shop with specific weapon parts, with premium resources, and unlike the crisis medals, which have a cap of basically how much you can get at based on how many times or when you clear it for the first time, co-op medals are infinitely farmable up to 9,999, right? You're also capped at 5,000 per week. This is very difficult to reach outside of like really focusing your stamina in co-op quest. So you want to make sure every single week to come into this, make sure you get these weapon parts. These weapon parts are exceedingly rare, so you want to make sure that you're picking these up every single week. Anything that has a stock in it is worth buying, except for maybe these blue materials. So, but anything that's purple is fine. And then obviously you can see here are some of the pieces that we were talking about before. So I can get 999 of these right now if I needed to. That's why I said the pieces quest is not necessary as far as like grinding it is concerned. But as you can see, Mithril ore is here. You've got 5 different characters worth of weapon parts that would currently be available if you started playing today, which means you would need to get 400 each, so 2,000 in order to get all of these weapon parts, which can take a little bit of time. So make sure that you at least come through here every single week. The co-op exchange shop updates Thursday night every single week, so you want to make sure that you're double checking that, getting everything that's in there, and make sure you're not missing out on weapon parts. Okay, and that pretty much covers the battle section of the home screen. So now we're going to move on to events. So events vary wildly, but this is where a majority of your stamina is going to be spent every single day, as they are limited and contain incredibly strong rewards. There are various types of events with different goals and missions, and I'm going to try my best to go through the different types as best as possible. So the first one, as you can see on screen here, is the seasonal story quest. This usually comes with a story, a set of solo quests, and a set of co-op quests. So when you jump in here, you can see that there are story quests, solo quests, and co-op quests. Now, missions for events themselves will have missions that are specific to the event. So you want to make sure that you're clearing these before the event ends and doing any of the daily missions that are available every single day. They're usually fairly simple, like clearing a battle, using stamina, stuff that you would otherwise have been doing already anyways. So you want to make sure that you clear these every single day though, because they'll typically give you things like blue crystals in the case of this event, right? And throughout the course of this event, which lasts for over 3 weeks, you'll end up getting over 1,000 extra crystals, which, as you can see, if 1,000 extra crystals would give me another full pull, because a pull is 3,000 blue crystals. Each standard event usually has a brand new event weapon. This event weapon usually comes with very good, what is called R abilities, which are abilities that enhance your character stats. And they're usually fairly inefficient when it comes to damage dealing, but they're great for holding onto your character and your party members as stat sticks, which we'll get into how your weapons and stuff go into your stats here when we get to the party tab. Each of these seasonal story quests usually has at least one update, and that update provides a new resource, gives a second weapon, and usually gives more story content, more solo missions, more co-op missions, etc. These standard fights also come with EX fights, which are essentially similar to the story extra fights. They're just much more challenging at the higher levels. These extra fights come with rare rewards such as icons, ultimate weapon medals, and blue crystals. So you want to make sure you attempt to complete each one if you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. It's okay. It's meant to be a power gauge. So if you're not capable of clearing it right now, just make sure that you try to clear it again and when the next event comes out. Each seasonal story comes with its own exchange shop, which comes with rare materials and weapon parts that you want to prioritize immediately. So you can see there's a brand new weapon here that you're able to get. This weapon goes all the way up to OB10. You get to get this to OB10 for free just by completing quests and getting these materials. So make sure that you go through and get these and clear them all out. You want to get everything that's rare that has the stock underneath them as quickly as you possibly can. There are also things called crossover events. So these are crossovers that Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis has had with things like Monster Hunter, with things like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy VI. Crossover events, generally speaking, fall under the seasonal story category. So everything that you get from a seasonal story, you can expect from a crossover event as well. The next type of event is a critical threat event. This usually comes with an incredibly powerful boss, such as Sephiroth, and generally has different mechanics than a typical boss fight. So as an example, Sephiroth changes the way that changes what element he's infused with. Once he's infused with that element, he goes into a sigil break phase, which we'll talk about when we get into the battle side of things. But he goes into a sigil break phase that then makes him weak to a particular element. So not only do you need to focus down his sigils, but you also need to prioritize hitting him with a super effective elemental attack. This is just an example. Each boss has different individual mechanics that are a little bit different than the others, and it makes it a very challenging and fun fight. And as you continue to increase in battle power, you'll see that you unlock certain crash quests. These crash quests are exceedingly more difficult than EX quests and are meant to be a challenge of your high level game knowledge and your knowledge of the boss fight that you're playing against. So if you can't clear the crash quest right now, like as an example, I'm struggling with the crash 3 quest right now with Sephiroth, don't worry about it. Clear as many as you can, get the crystals if you can, and keep moving, right? Just keep moving. Unlike the exchange shop, critical threat quests or critical threat events usually have a victory draw with victory draw tickets, and the victory draw tickets are your resources for clearing certain quests in this event. These usually comes with free weapons, event weapons that will help increase your party members' damage, increase your party members' defensive stats, etc., as well as premium resources such as weapon parts, memory crystals, genome pods, and more. The only difference with this one compared to the seasonal story quest is that when you complete all of the jackpot prizes in each of these levels, you want to go ahead and level this up immediately. Although the limited prizes can seem enticing, the limited prizes are not good enough to justify staying around and wasting these very rare resources on each level. So you want to make sure that you're leveling up to get the additional rare materials like more weapon parts, more memory crystals, etc. The battle ranking event provides 2 bosses for you to fight. Unlike the previous 2 events, this is a ranking event against your fellow players in your specific pool. You get a score based on how well you defeat a boss, meaning how quickly, your maximum one-hit damage, how little damage you took, very similar to Crisis dungeons, as well as multipliers from self-imposed difficulties or hindrances that you apply to yourself before the battle started. These can range from additional HP, damage, and defenses for your enemies, or hindrances on your party that range from decreased damage, increased ATP gauges on abilities, and more. Although ranking high in this event provides a myriad of excellent rewards, they are generally not so valuable that it's not worth investing a ton of resources in. What does provide value are total point missions, which you can obtain from just fighting the boss over and over again at whatever stage level you're comfortable with. This allows you to get all of the staged resources, all of the crystals that are available, and etc. Make sure you clear those missions more than anything by attempting the daily challenge once per day, as it provides an additional 750,000 points to your total points, helping you clear these missions faster. Generally speaking, it goes up to about 16.5 million total points is what you need over the course of the 9 days, 7 to 9 days that the battle ranking event is there. So make sure that you're getting those cleared as soon as possible. And finally, occasionally there are dungeon ranking, battle rush, and battle quest events. These events also have exchange shops and are typically more straightforward and less challenging events that help get your characters leveled up and more powerful, whereas dungeon ranking events are another sort of challenge event that is very similar to a Crisis dungeon. It's laid out exactly the same as a Crisis dungeon. They've got symbols with the upgrades and the detriments that you can find from feeding each symbol. It's very similar to those Crisis dungeons. And very much like the battle ranking event, as you get a higher score, you'll be able to rank higher up, get some rare items, including some rare titles and plates that you wouldn't otherwise be able to receive, whereas the boss rush and battle quest event are specifically just there to help level up your characters, make yourself get a little bit more strong. And I tried to cover pretty much all of the events there. We're gonna move on to expeditions now, when there are 2 types of expeditions, Highwind and Chocobo. We're gonna start with Highwind first. So with the Highwind, in the Enhancement tab, you're gonna find your different levels for your Highwind. So you've got the Highwind level, which is your base level and determines what the cap is for all of your Highwind parts. So this will be the thing that you wanna upgrade first and foremost. The engine increases how many items your Highwind can hold before it's full. So as you can see, it says exploration item capacity 60. You can see down here, exploration items 40 out of 60. And in 10 hours, that's gonna cap out. So I'm just gonna collect this now so I don't lose out on it. And that's because if it goes to 60, you can't overfill it. So you wanna make sure that you're clearing this before you get to that 60 mark. Depending on how frequently you play the game is how much you should consider upgrading this. As an example, with the 60 item capacity, it takes 30 hours to completely get it to full. So from my perspective, that's good enough for me. I'm playing this game at least once per day, so I can clear this before it gets to full anyways. So from my perspective, that's good enough. I just move on. Stabilizer is how many paint cans you receive. So you can see paint cans up here, and this is iron metal, I believe is the other one. And then Astral Winds. So this paint cans is actually how you upgrade all of this stuff here. So you can see it takes 170 million paint cans to go from 75 to 76. So Stabilizer says I'm getting 3.0 million paint cans per item the Highwind finds. So every 30 minutes, I'm getting 3 million paint cans added to this exploration section. So this is a high priority. You want to make sure you're upgrading this basically up to full with your Highwind level to make sure that you're getting as many paint cans as possible to both help upgrade your Highwind itself and upgrade the other parts. And finally, Propeller increases your chances at finding rare items each time the Highwind finds an item. This is definitely worth upgrading as you're leveling up, as the rare items the Highwind finds can be very, very useful. In the battle section, you'll find boss fights and rare enemy encounters. Boss fights are usually typically found at every single 5 levels for the Highwind. You'll need to clear these fights in order to continue leveling up your Highwind any further. These boss fights are mandatory once you reach those levels, so as I reach level 90, I'll need to defeat this boss in order to continue enhancing my Highwind. Rare enemy encounters can be against the cactuar, a golden cactuar, or golden bombs, each providing an increasing number of astral winds. The rare enemy encounters must be completed within an hour, so whenever you get one, make sure you complete them immediately, so that way you don't miss out. In terms of the astral winds are actually used in the collection tab. So this can be a little bit overwhelming. So if you need to rewind, pause, etc., make sure you do so. As you level up your Highwind, you'll continue to obtain Highwind Collection items. These Highwind Collection items are ways to increase your character's stats and damages, so it's just another way to help your characters get a little bit stronger. These missions can range and each one of these items has a certain set of missions. So you can see down here, there's an Enhanced tab, and it tells you for this decorative weapon box, you need to obtain, these are OB10 or Overboost 10 weapons that are fully overboosted. You need to have 110 in order to get this to the next enhancement level, right? And you can see this across the board, how many weapons you obtained, how many of those are 5-starred, how many of those are overboosted 5 times, how many of those are overboosted 10 times. That's how much this upgrades. Each one of these items has individual quests that you can do in order to get their materia level increased. So you'll find that this is fairly simple as you're playing the game. I don't ever go out of my way to try to clear these on purpose, but if you do, you'll be able to increase your team's total stats. And then once you do go through and upgrade all of these, you can click on effects and it shows you exactly what all of your team is getting. So all of my team members are getting 19% bonus HP. They're getting 24% bonus physical attack. They're getting 24% bonus magic attack, 12% bonus physical defense, 9% bonus magic defense, and 4% bonus heal. You can also see in the abilities tab that we're getting 23% stronger weapon ability potency. We're getting 19% stronger materia ability potency and 14.8% increased limit break potency. Much like weapons, which we're going to get into shortly here, these items can be overboosted. So if you go into the Enhanced tab and you click on Overboost, you'll see that you need a certain amount of astral winds in order to overboost this. And as you can see on the left, that increases the amount of stats that that item provides. So currently it provides 5% for each of these. If I overboosted it one more time, each number would go up 1%, increasing to 6% each, which allows us then to get an extra percent for both of those statistics. As each item, and as of this recording, each item can be overboosted 5 total times. That's the highest that they can go. It starts at 20, then goes to 30, 40, 50, and finally 60. That means that you're going to need 200 total astral winds to complete an overboost for any one of these items. In terms of which ones to overboost first, you typically want to focus on things that have one stat first. So things like the Materia display pedestal, which gives materia ability potency. HP here is a really good one, generically strong. Physical attack and magic attack, obviously both will always be mainstays, will always be very good. And then as you complete all of these individual ones that end up getting higher percentages values versus things that have multiple, then you want to look at things that give multiple defensive stats or multiple offensive stats at higher values. So as an example, this champion belt has 3, but when you overboost this, it gives a ton of upgrades. So it goes from 7.8% to 9.4 and 5.1% to 6.7%. That's a massive jump. And so you want to make sure you're upgrading that, as it gives your characters a significant damage boost and a significant defensive boost as well. In terms of the items down here that are specifically built around your individual characters, so like Cloud's weapons being upgraded to certain levels, I don't overboost these because the percentages are so low compared to the items above. So try to focus on the items that you have up here first and foremost before you start upgrading and overboosting, or rather overboosting the things down here. As a general rule of thumb, I didn't use my Astral Winds until I needed to have an upgrade for some reason. So if I needed more physical attack, I would enhance this with an overboost to try to give myself a bit of a boost. Now that I'm to the point where I have a lot of the individual things overboosted, I have some targets now. I'm getting this champion belt finished up. Then I'm moving back to the magic defense upgrade to make sure that this gets upgraded, because as you saw, my magic defense is slightly lower than my physical defense boost and stuff like that. So otherwise, you really can't go wrong here. This is all extra stats. It just helps your team get a little bit stronger. It's a nice passive way to increase your damage. Next up, we've got the Chocobo Farm. Chocobo Farm allows you to passively farm materials from the expedition sites. Each expedition site requires a certain type of chocobo, which is going to be shown by the icon you see here. So this icon tells me that I need a river chocobo in order to be at Rosen's cabin. If you want to go through the list, you can see that you just need a typical standard chocobo for Midgar. When you get to the grasslands, same thing, just a typical grasslands chocobo. But then when you get to Wutai, you need a mountain chocobo in order to do these expeditions. Fairly simple overall. These chocobos, in order to get them, are found in the exchange shop. This exchange shop updates every single day. You can see the auto refill up here, and you can also use Gil to refill it immediately. So if you say, oh, I don't really want any of these, I'm looking for a mountain chocobo, I can refill this immediately and go, this one's a mountain chocobo, but it's only a G+, and G+ is a pretty low rank, right? So I'm gonna refill it again. And then you go through and go, here we go, a C mountain chocobo, and I've got enough chocobo metals, which is farmed from just the chocobo expeditions, to get this mountain chocobo. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this mountain chocobo because I need this mountain chocobo. And that's how the exchange is done. Much like the Highwind, chocobo expeditions are farmed passively. So you can just do this by selecting a chocobo in an expedition, selecting a character that goes with that chocobo, and then throw them on that expedition. It doesn't make them unavailable to use. All that does is give them experience every single time you collect something from these chocobo farms. So as you can see, they would have gotten experience if they weren't max level here. You also get expedition rewards, which include Gil, chocobo metals, and all of these materials. So you can see here, these are some of the materials that we could have farmed in the solo content, but these chocobos are doing it for us, right? So you can see you're getting all kinds of different rare materials, you're getting pieces, you're getting magic pieces, you're getting materia upgrade materials, all kinds of stuff, right? So that's pretty much the chocobos. This isn't terribly difficult. It's just a nice passive way to build up some stuff. I typically don't move on from an expedition site until I've gotten 100% of it explored, which are all of these rare exploration items, including some not so rare items as well. This can take a little bit of time depending on how good your chocobo is finding rare items or exploration items. But as you complete those, you're going to clear missions on the right hand side here, which gives you more chocobos, gives you crystals, and a whole bunch of other resources as well. So make sure that you're clearing each one of these areas before you move on to the next. And finally, underneath this home tab, we have the guild menu. Guild is a group of up to 30 players that work together to complete missions each and every day to earn the guild experience and points. The points that you get from completing missions are used to upgrade various features of the game, including help make better materia, enhancements for battle, better odds for Highwind, and reduced expedition time for chocobos. These are great for all accounts, so make sure you join a guild as soon as you can to gain access to these awesome benefits. Once a month, there is also a guild battle. While I won't go into a ton of details about guild battles here, I do post a video each month explaining how to build your team and how to fight the guild battle, so make sure you check out those videos when they go live each month. All right, finally on the home screen, there are shop, gifts, missions, season pass, friends, and notice buttons, all of which are pretty self-explanatory. The shop menu is where you get all of your premium in-game purchases that amplifies your experience with the game. There is also a Gil shop where you can buy things with Gil. You can click the purchase all button and you can add these materials to your equipment. Then you can refill it, purchase all again, and keep doing this until it goes up to 5,000. And then this is our last refill of the day. Then this shop will replenish after 24 hours, and you can do that all over again. The crystal packs, this is where you buy your premium red crystals. Daily packs include some daily things that you can buy as well. Some things with red crystals, some things with money. Memories is where you can buy additional memory crystals for characters. So if you're trying to boost your character up faster, you can buy one of these memory crystal packs. Passes are ways to amplify your experience with 7-day boost that either increase your stamina boost so you can get extra rewards. You can always get an additional refresh in the guild shop, so this will help you get some extra materials. You can buy the soldier pass, which gives 480 red crystals, additional rewards for co-op battles, 30% faster materia cook times, and increases your expedition rate for rare drops for chocobos, while also decreasing the amount of time it takes to get those items for your chocobos. That's only $3, gives you 480 red crystals, or you can spend up to $19 to get an extra 20 stamina tonics per day. And a stamina tonic adds 50 stamina to your stamina pool each and every day. So this would give you 140 of those stamina pots, effectively giving you an additional 7,000 stamina over the course of the week. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you really want to grind out the game, this is a great way to do so. It also gives you 3,000 of the red crystals as well. The special shop has some stuff in here that has monthly items, weekly items, some individual items that are just one-time purchases. These are all special purchases that are typically limited each and every month or each and every week. The one thing that is in here is a daily free pack that gives you a slew of individual resources, including pieces, memory vouchers, grindstones, and gil. So make sure that you get that daily one every single day. So in terms of a free-to-play outlook, the one places you want to go is special and then gil to make sure you get all of these. Every once in a while, there'll be some special event sale, something like a crystal boost, where right now for the new year, we're getting extra crystals for our money. So if you spend $20 instead of just getting 3,200 crystals, you're also getting a bonus 1,280 blue crystals. So that's something you can look into as well. And then the New Year's pack, this is just the special pack that's going on right now as a result of the current banner that's out today. The gifts tab is where all of your rewards will go, including blue crystals, stamina tonics, and more. You want to make sure that you clear this out every single day that you're able to, because certain items, such as stamina tonics, you can see have an expiration date here. So you want to go down, click claim all, and that way anything that you're able to hold at the moment is able to be claimed. With stamina tonics, if you get to having them a whole bunch like me, you want to jump down to the bottom and see where the last expiring one will expire. You can see I have one that expires on January 4th, so I need to use these 10 stamina tonics before January 4th at 1:08 p.m. Otherwise, I'll lose them. So other than that, you just click claim all. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. The mission tab has 3 permanent tabs: daily, weekly, and general. You go through here, you want to make sure that you clear each one of these out every single day in your daily quest. These daily quests should be completed every day, as it provides up to 100 crystals each day for completing all of them and various other resources. Weekly missions should be completed each week, resetting on Sunday, as they provide more resources than daily quests. And general missions will be completed as you progress through the game and include various challenges like leveling up your characters, clearing certain content, logging in for a certain amount of days, and more. Occasionally, the mission tab will also include various timed missions, either under a theme like New Year's 2025 or under campaigns. These are usually incredibly rare items, so make sure you prioritize clearing these whenever these show up. So things like gotcha tickets, things like lottery boxes, upgraded gotcha tickets, wallpapers, and more. The missions you should look to complete every single day are featured here on screen. So this will include the daily missions and as well guild daily missions. This does not include event daily missions, which may fall in a similar line to these, so make sure that you complete these every day, and as long as you do, you'll make progress building up your account over time. Okay, the Season Pass. The Season Pass is Ever Crisis's version of a Battle Pass with a free and premium path. As you complete missions on the Season Pass, you'll get various rewards, including blue crystals, enhancement materials, and a title plate. The premium version of the path provides even more crystals and a unique background for you to enjoy on the home screen. It's simply a cosmetic, but they have all been pretty cool if that's something that you'd like to spend the additional 14 US on each month. The Friends tab is where your friends list resides. You can keep up with what your friends are doing. If they're online, invite them to private co-op matches, things like that. Fairly simple and self-explanatory. The Notices tab is the news tab where the game devs provide us with details about upcoming events, like the January co-op content schedule, banners, campaigns, and any other additional information. This is your go-to spot to see what's currently happening in the game in full detail, so if you ever take a break and you want to know what's up in the game right now, the Notice tab is where you want to go first. And that is everything for the home screen. If you made it this far, please consider liking the video and subscribing. It really helps a lot. It's free, and it gives me the opportunity to make more in-depth videos like these, and I love making content like this for folks to help people out, to give you kind of a breakdown of what you're looking at in games like this. I love being able to help folks, so I really do appreciate it. Like I said, it's free. You can subscribe, like the video, leave a comment telling me what's your favorite Final Fantasy character. All right, so that's with the home tab. The rest of these will move a little bit quicker because it's not quite as in-depth as the home tab is. So we'll start with the growth tab. So the growth tab, simply put, is where your characters and summons get more powerful through their growth streams. Character growth streams increase the character's stats using the pieces and memory crystals that we've talked about previously that you've been attaining through quest. This is also where you unlock and improve character limit breaks, as you see on the left-hand side here. Make sure that you have each character bound, much like a summon, to unlock a limit break. So you have to actually go down to the bottom here, and there are 2 limit breaks that you can bind yourself to. Generally, you want to bind yourself to the left one first, as this is the easier one to complete, whereas the right one actually involves you getting this limit break to a certain level, as you can see here, where you have to raise Seal Evil level 5 in order to even complete this. So you want to start with the limit breaks that are on the left first, and then once that's completed, bind yourself to the one on the right. Each character has multiple limit breaks, so before you even get started, you want to make sure that each one of these characters are bound to one of these limit breaks, so that way you're not wasting extra resources or time to get that stuff unlocked. Otherwise, as you can see, when you level things up, you get more stats. So every time you get this leveled up, it costs a certain amount of memory crystals and pieces. I'll go to a character that currently I haven't finished out just yet. And then as you can see here, I would need 40 of these premium noble memory crystals, as well as 252 of these power pieces in order to unlock this section. Then I just click unlock, it unlocks that section, and now Kate Sith has an additional 24 attack points, which you can see notated on the left hand side. Fairly simple. It's just upgrading things as you go along. Each area is capped by a level cap. So once you hit certain level breakpoints like 55, 60, 70, 75, etc., you'll find yourself unlocking more nodes and more ways to improve your character's stats, all the way up to level 90, which is the current level cap as of this recording, and up to 391 individual nodes. So as you can tell, that's a lot of nodes. It's going to cost a lot of pieces, and that's just something that you'll build over time. Summon growth streams are very similar to character growth streams, except they don't require pieces for leveling up through it. You simply just need the summon memory crystals. So you can see Titan's memory here, and then I could go all the way up to Earth and Fury here, click unlock, and then I don't have quite enough to unlock the next level of Earth and Fury just yet. You get these from defeating various summon quests, and the roadblocks for summons are locked behind completing more difficult summon missions. So as an example, as I get up to this quest here, you can see preceding nodes must be unlocked first. So I have to unlock up to here, and then this would unlock to the next section, which then I can go all the way up to the very tippy top until here, because I have to clear the Trial of Titan Very Hard 3 before I can move to this part of the quest. So that's all that really happens with summon quests. They're a lot easier and a lot more simplistic in terms of the growth patterns than the character quests are. However, this is a grind. It takes forever to get these memory crystals to unlock the nodes. So take your time with this. Whenever you have extra stamina to spend it in the summon quest, and you'll slowly build these up over time. Again, much like with the characters, try to focus down individual summons first, and then move back to other summons once you have those summons maxed out. Moving along, we've got the Enhance tab. So the Enhance tab is where you enhance your weapons and materia, as well as synthesize new materias, starting with the weapons. In the weapons tab, the very first thing you want to do in the weapons tab is click on the armory button down at the bottom here and turn on auto convert. What this does is when you obtain extra copies of a weapon, so this is only after you've obtained a weapon for the first time and obtained that weapon again, it will convert that weapon, that additional weapon, to weapon parts. Those weapon parts improve your that weapon's stats and improve that weapon's ability, as well as the R abilities that are included on the weapon as well. Those weapon parts allow you then to over boost a weapon, which I can show you here. So when you have weapon parts, enough weapon parts, which is you need 200 in order to overboost, I would give this 200 weapon parts, click overboost, and then you can see it goes from 380 attack and 350 magic attack to 398 and 332. It also increased the R abilities, which are extra abilities that increase your character's stats as well. And every time you overboost this, it will continue to increase. If you want to know how much a weapon will give at maximum levels, you can hold down your click on the actual weapon, click the left arrow right next to current stats, and it'll take you to C ability max tier. So this is an overboost 10 or OB10 weapon with maximum stats at 120, which is the current weapon level cap. And it's max R abilities, it's max damage, it's max everything. Leveling a weapon is as simple as clicking on the weapon, clicking enhance, going to level, and clicking specify level. Typically speaking, you can get all the way up to 120. The highest level I would push a weapon to is level 80. The reason why is because, as you can see here, I have many of these resources that are easily obtainable through just completing quests, leveling up, doing some events, etc. When I pushed it to 90 and beyond, I start to use these premium mithril ores, And right now I only have 330 of these, which means I can only do this 11 times, right? So any weapon that I'm not 100% sure I'm going to be using as a weapon to fight with, and I'm just using this as a weapon in my sub slots, which again, we'll go over that in a little bit. I'll just get it up to level 80, click enhance again. And then if you click the button again, it puts it up to 80, everything's unlocked, and then it's all done. Pretty easy, pretty simple. This was just added recently as well, which makes things pretty simple. Overboost 10 is the maximum level overboost. So if you see here, I've got this weapon at OB 10 plus 3. Once we upgrade this again, so we're gonna go ahead and click Overboost Plus. Once you get to Overboost 10, every upgrade past that gives very minimal stats upgrades, but it no longer increases your ability damage or your R abilities. So although it's nice to increase a little bit of damage here and there, it's not necessary. Once you get it to OB 10, that's as high as you want it to go. And finally, with items with weapons, we have brands. Brands are items that specifically enhance the abilities of your weapon. So let's say I take 10 of these branding stones and I click confirm. You'll be provided with a list of the brands that rolled onto this weapon. So as you can see here, each brand has a grade next to it. This is not how good it is for that particular weapon. This is, however, how good it is for that particular stat. So as an example, HP can go up to a maximum of 100. So when I got 83, that is an S rank brand roll. Whereas physical attack goes up much higher than 19, which is why it's listed as a C rank on this, much like the C and UC ability effect at 0.6 goes up much higher than this, right? So this is just a gauge to help you understand kind of where each one of these are. If you see that you've got an S and an A here, this is typically pretty good, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily good for that weapon, right? You want to pick brands that typically go towards your weapons and help improve what this weapon is capable of doing. I'm not going to go into a full breakdown of brands, as I think that's kind of its own video, as well as like full character builds. I think that's kind of its own video as well. But as a general rule of thumb, when you have thousands of these, don't be afraid to just go through and pop 10 in to a weapon that you're using right now and see if you can find something that you think is useful. So like this as an example, increases the amount of your damage for your weapon. As you can see, this what the item doesn't do damage. So this ability effect doesn't actually help the butterfly edge. So you really want on this is defensive stats, stuff that increases your ability to take damage. So right now, HP and heal is actually pretty decent, right? Magic defense would be a little bit better because defenses are a little bit better in the game right now than HP is, mostly because our healers can't heal gigantic health pools right now. That may change over time, but as it stands today, if you get to like 19,000 health, your healer isn't going to be able to heal 19,000 health very quickly, right? So we're finding that defensive stats right now are more valuable in the game. That may change over time, but as it stands today, that's kind of where it's at. So just as an example for the video, I'm going to go ahead and rebrand this with magic defense because I value that a little bit higher than the HP stat. And then I'm going to leave it because you know what? I'm not using this weapon very often. The extra 5 magic defense is nice. I'm just going to move on. And that's kind of everything when it comes to specifically upgrading weapons. Very, very simple overall. Like I said, most of the weapons in the game that you're using, you want to make sure that you push up to higher overboost levels and higher levels overall. So as an example, I use this holiday revolver a whole lot. So I upgraded it to level 120 to make sure I'm getting the maximum amount of damage, the maximum amount of R abilities that I could possibly get from the weapon. Obviously, the goal is to eventually get them all up to a level 120 to maximize the amount of stats that you get. However, I've been clearing content just fine without my weapons at level 120. You will too. The only things that you want to upgrade super high are weapons that you're using frequently or weapons that are incredibly high overboost levels. So as an example, I have this weapon at OB10. The amount of stats that it gives are massive. The amount of R abilities that it gives at max level are massive. So I have this one at OB10 at 120 because it's giving my team and this character a whole bunch of extra stats that I would not otherwise get from something that's simply just a 5-star weapon that I pulled from the gotcha pool. Ultimate weapons, unlike regular weapons, cannot be overboosted. However, they follow the same upgrade path as regular weapons. So all you have to do is go into enhance. There'll be a specify level button here. You just click specify level and you can level it up as normal. Unlike regular weapons, you want to prioritize getting ultimate weapons to level 120 as soon as possible because your character will always be using an ultimate weapon in their builds regardless of what their build is. So make sure that you're always getting this leveled up to 120 immediately, as it just provides your character a myriad of bonus stats that is just better for your character and improves your character's ability to deal damage. Next up is the Materia tab. Materia is where all of your materia is housed. Unlike weapons, which have no limit to how many you can hold, materia have a limit to how much you can store at once. You can see that up here above. You can expand this using crystals to hold on to more, though I would recommend focusing on getting higher grade materia, which are 4 or 5 star materias of each type before you worry about expanding it, because you really don't need to have like all of the lower level, the 1, 2, and even 3 star materias are just not as good or as valuable as the 4 or 5 star materia. So focus on getting your materia upgraded first, and then if you have a whole bunch of upgraded materia and need more space, then look to expand past that at that point. You can level your materia by either clicking enhance first and foremost, and you can use either weaken materia, so like any of the materials that we're not currently using, and click enhance, which will then increase the substats over on the left hand side. You can then upgrade some materia, not all, to an upgraded version of itself. So instead of ruin, we go up to ruin ra, and it gets to a max level cap of 10, which means that the substats down on the side here can go up even higher by using items if you'd like instead of other materials. You can automatically just click enhance here, optimize enhance. That's to increase your stats even further. So as an example, this materia ended up rolling with 20 flat magic attack, 2.4% increased HP, 12 physical defense, and 10% physical attack, which is very, very, very high. And this is something that I'd like to keep. These upgrades and these substats are very important for leveling, for getting your characters to maximum power later in the game. Early on, it's not as important, but it is valuable. So something to keep in mind as you're upgrading materia, to try to keep an eye on your substats. If you have, say, 2 purple materias that are basically the exact same thing, they're both ruins, but this one has a percentage and this one doesn't, then this one's likely the better materia and the one you should focus on first. Just as a general rule of thumb. Otherwise, just try to upgrade things, get your stuff upgraded, much like the weapons. As long as these are upgraded, they're going to give you more damage. They're going to do more things for you. So as long as you've got them upgraded, that's what you're looking for. Synthesis is where you actually create materia. So you can go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and claim all of these, and then I'm going to synthesize. You'll be starting with, I think it's 3 materia slots. It's either 2 or 3, I forget. Unlike the actual materia that you can house, you do want to try to get these unlocked quickly so that you have better odds of making higher level materia more often. What you'll do is you go to synthesize, and then as you unlock more of these recipes, you'll click on one of the materials that you want to build. So in my case, I'm building out specifically triangle ruin materia, which we'll talk about in just a second. But you can make elemental fire materia, physical fire materia, blizzard, thunder, etc. You can see all the way down here, there's some support materia, including Asuna fogs, some Asuna poisons, some bios to be able to poison the enemy, all kinds of individual things that you can make to help improve your team's chances of winning each and every fight. Tabs at the top contain circle, triangle, and X materias. So I mentioned before when we were talking about the Sephiroth quest that there are sigil break phases. These materias are good at breaking specific sigils. There are 3 or 4 types of sigils in the game. The 3 that you see here, circle, triangle, and X, and diamond sigil breaks, which diamond sigil breaks can be broken by any other materias that'll only deal 1 specific break to a diamond materia break. But there are some weapons that have the ability to deal diamond sigil break that are in the game that do the same thing as these materias. So keep an eye out for those as you're getting more weapons as you continue to do your draws. These materia are crucial for helping break through sigil break phases for boss fights. So you want to make sure that you have 1 available for each party member that you currently have available. So you want to have 3 circles, you want to have 3 triangles, and you want to have 3 X materias. Once you have those ready to go, you can move on to get other elemental materias, etc. Each materia, like I mentioned before, will roll with something called substats. These are additional stats for your characters. Again, I won't go into great detail about substats in today's video, but know that it's important for pushing your character to new heights in various endgame content. As you're just getting started, this is a beginner's guide. Don't worry about substats too much. Just make sure that you've got the item or the materia that you need. If you end up getting something with good substats, great, right? That's excellent. That'll be great for you later on down the road. And it does help early too, but it's not as crucial in the early goings as you're just starting to get rolling. Just make sure that you've got 3 of each of the circle, triangle, and X breaks, and make sure that you've got some level of materials available that supplements what weapons you're missing. So let's say you don't have a lot of lightning weapons, make some lightning materia, right? So that way you've got the ability to do lightning damage without having those lightning weapons available. In terms of actually synthesizing a materia, you can just click on the materia and click synthesize. Go ahead and click synthesize again. It'll consume these materials that you've been collecting from Chocobo farming and etc. And then it'll have a timer on there. As you can see, each materia has a certain rough time estimate that you can see here. It takes 50 minutes in general for a ruined materia to actually cook through. So if I click synthesize again, you'll see this one does 46 minutes though. And so what this tells me is that this materia is going to be a lower quality than this materia is. And basically, as a general rule of thumb, how it works is if you get to around where the median time is, which is the time they showcase here, you're more likely to get a 3-star materia. If it's 20% above that, so let's say it's over an hour, you're more likely to get a 4-star materia. And if it's 40% above that, or a full 20 minutes above, and you see a 1 hour and 10-minute cook time, then you're more likely to see a 5-star materia. This works in the same way backwards. So if it's 20% less, so the 30-minute one, you're looking at something like a 1 or 2-star materia. 40 minutes, probably about a 2-star materia as well. Something to keep in mind as you're making these. Doesn't really do anything outside of just tells you kind of what to expect when you're making these materias. But as an example, I can show you real quick as we synthesize just all of these materials alone. I'll click synthesize on each of these materials, and you'll see that they all get different times. All right, so as an example, this one is likely going to be a 2-star, which you can see here. This one, since it was at 47 minutes, is likely to be a 2-star as well, but it has a higher chance of being a 3-star. Did end up rolling into a 3-star, which is good. This one was around 30 minutes as well, so this will also be a 2-star. This one was around an hour, so this one should be a 4-star. And you can see it was a 3-star, so it's not guaranteed, but it's just more likely. So you did have a chance to get a 4-star materia there. Whereas this one, 44 minutes, this one will be a 2-star as well. And that's kind of how materia cooking works. You can also add materials into this. So let's say I'm currently cooking a whole bunch of triangle materials. I'm going to put one of these 5-stars in, and this is a max level synthesis now. This means I get a 3-star guaranteed with 3 substats guaranteed, which I didn't mention this when we were looking at substats before, but seeing how many substats a materia has is not guaranteed. That's why getting this up to these maximum levels is very good. So you saw that one was a 1 hour and 9 minutes. That does have a chance to be a 5-star materia. So we are going to double check that together. 1 hour and 7 minutes. That's probably going to be a 4-star materia. 45 minutes. Since it's a 3-star guaranteed, we know it's a 3-star materia. So that's something that we at least know walking into it. And this one was around an hour as well. So we're going to go ahead and shorten all of these using the bookmarks that we were talking about before. And then we're going to click collect all and see what we got. So we click claim all, and they were all 4-star materia. So unlucky, but that's okay. And then once those are all done cooking, if you still didn't get what you were looking for, you can just simply select same materials. It'll go right back to that triangle ruin with the items that you'd used previously and just put it right back in there for you. It's still a little time consuming, but it's much faster than it was on the release of Ever Crisis. So if you're a returning player from the original start release of the game, this is one of the various quality of life updates that has happened over the last 1.5 years that has made this game a lot more fun to play. So this is something that just passively happens in the background. You should do this before you go to bed at night, just to let these cook overnight, because then you can just collect them first thing in the morning, see if you got anything good, and then put more things back in there again. And that's the Enhanced tab. Moving right along, we're going to the Party tab. This is where you can build parties. So you can build individual parties pre-built, so that way you can get together and say, like, I know that I want to use a certain type of team for fire that's physically fire focused. So I get my physical fire focused team with a support character that helps build this character out. Each character's weapons and materia increase their stats, right? You can see this within the abilities tab. They all have weapons that increase their individual stats, as we've showcased previously. They have outfits that increase individual stats, which we'll talk about in a second. They have materia that increase individual stats as well. And they have sub-equipment, which is any weapon in the game can be equipped to a sub-equipment slot. Whereas main equipment, the character-specific weapons must be equipped. So you can equip 2 character-specific weapons, one in the main hand. The main hand weapon provides you the maximum amount of value for that weapon. So you're getting 46 boost P attack, 39 boost fire potency. You're getting 677 physical attack, 492 magic attack, and 236 heal. These are all what you get from this weapon in your main hand. In the offhand and all sub-equipment items, you're getting half. And this rounds up, I believe it rounds down. Yeah, it rounds down. So you're getting half of all of these. So in this one, instead of 686 attack, you're getting half of this, which is 343. Instead of 479, you're getting half of this rounded down, which is going to end up being 389 magic, or 289 magic attack rather. You're going to get 7 magic defense. You're going to get 99 heal, right? And you can see this reflected in the actual stats in the back as well. So when I look at his abilities and I scroll down to his boost physical attack all allies, you'll see that he's only getting 20 instead of the 40 that it says it is, right? That's how it works for his offhand weapon and his sub equipment as well. Unlike his offhand weapon, the ultimate weapon gives you all of the stats. So you're getting 20 boost physical or ability potency, and you're getting 20 physical defense as well. So you can see that reflected here as well, where the physical defense is at 20, and then I have another weapon in the backhand that's giving more ability potency, which is why it's up at 42. Generally speaking, you want to try to prioritize the character's stats that are most in line with your main hand weapon. So in this case, it's a physical attacking weapon. So I want to try to get my physical attack to the maximum amount, which is up at 55 points. Once I get to 55 points, additional points don't do me any good. It doesn't do anything for my actual stats. So I try to avoid adding additional items that provide physical attack versus, say, regular attack, like this one provides, which is separate than physical attack and provides physical and magic bonuses, right? And that's kind of how these sub weapons work. So I'm not going to go into too much more detail here, as this is again, another video in itself, and this video is already getting kind of long. But if y'all want a bigger detail or a bigger breakdown of kind of how to build each character, generally speaking, as a general rule of thumb, this is a fire cloud build because I have Flame Blade Arcanum, which provides an additional 35% fire damage. So all of my weapons are built around dealing physical damage with physical ability potency, which is an additional 45% damage, or dealing fire damage, which is his fire ability potency, giving me 100% more fire damage on this build, on top of the 35% we're getting from the outfit. And then since it's physical focused, I focus on getting the physical attack maxed out, which is giving me an additional 50% boost to my physical attack, which is then what results, among a myriad of other things, in providing Cloud with over 9,000 physical attack. So that's typically how the solo party works. It's just a full party. The co-op battles, you can build co-op parties as well. Same exact thing here, nothing crazy. You just build up co-op parties. As of today, you can build 20 individual co-op parties and up to 30 individual solo parties, allowing you to prep easily for certain battles, prep easily for certain elemental types that you want to prep for, anything you'd like to start to prep for. And last but certainly not least is the draw tab. The draw tab is where you get all of your banners and draws that are currently available in the game. If you want more details about when you should be using your crystals to pull on banners, I'd highly recommend checking out my video going over when I decide to pull in full detail. Just details are for that video or in the description down below. The one thing I'll say here is, if there is a free pull available, make sure you log in every single day to do that free pull minimally. So you can see there's a free pull right now where you can do one pull each day, and it resets every day at 3:00 p.m. Eastern or whatever your local time zone is. Make sure that you do these free pulls every day, because this is just free power for your characters in account, and it may give you some directions on which characters you want to level up. Do not miss these. In terms of the actual banners themselves, again, I did go into full detail of this, but just as a quick reminder, there are featured banners, which are banners that introduce weapons into the general pool of weapons that you can pull from, which are for ticket pulls, regular banner pulls, etc. And then there are limit break pulls or crossover pulls. These weapons are limited compared to the featured weapons. Crossover and limit break weapons are limited. So if you want to get one of those weapons, you'll have to get it on that banner. And as of this recording, they've only rerun 2 individual limit break banners or crossover banners ever in the game. One was the half anniversary, where they reran the half anniversary weapons, and Final Fantasy IX's crossover event reran as well. And those are the only 2 times a limit break draw or a limited weapon banner has rerun in Ever Crisis. So something to keep in mind as these limited banners come by. You'll want to do at least one pull on the banner to try to get a low star copy of the weapon, because then you can use the character specific weapon parts that we were talking about earlier to improve that weapon's rarity without having to pull for it again. The limited weapons also cannot be selected for things like the daily quests that allow you to get more weapon parts, which make them exceedingly more rare, but then in turn, they tend to be exceedingly a lit more powerful than typical featured weapons. So something to keep in mind as limit break banners come through. Ticket banners are where all of your gotcha pull draw tickets are used. As a new player, as a general rule of thumb, when you get these, use them. Because this is just a way for you to get additional resources for your characters. This is just a way for your characters to get more powerful. You don't need to try to game the system and try to figure out which ones you should pull for, which ones you shouldn't pull for, which ones you should save, which ones you should stockpile. If you're a new player and you've just started playing this game, or if you're a returning player, or basically if you haven't been playing since day one, if you've got these tickets, just use them. They're going to increase your power level. They're going to help you give a direction for what characters you should be using, and that's going to make you have more fun with the game. Ultimately, the biggest piece of advice that I can give any player starting this game, coming back to this game, day one players, etc., the only thing you should be doing with this game every single day is having fun. That's the absolute end all be all. You should just be having fun with the game. And guess what? Having little 5-star things show up when you pull little weapons, let's say I just do a 10 pull real quick, and I just do this one little 10 pull draw, and I decide, you know what, I just need a little endorphin hit today. I just need like something, right? So I click control, I just skip past this, and look, I got a 5-star, right? And it's like, oh yeah, cool, like I got a 5-star. What's the 5-star? Let me see what I got. And it's something for Matt. Oh boy, what's the thing I got for Matt? Let's take a look. Oh God, look, it's Prime Number. Prime Number is his healing weapon. That's really helpful. You see what I mean? Like, it's fine. It's fine. Do I actually need Prime Number? I'll be perfectly honest with you, I don't know. I'm gonna look right now. So yeah, look at that. It actually got my Prime Number up to OB10. So now my Prime Number is at OB10, which means it's at its maximum power level now. And you get a nice little fun cutscene here. And that means it increases healing potency from 69%, nice, up to 74%. So it's only a 5% increase, but it's a 5% increase per character. So that's technically, if you want to get into the weeds here, a 15% boost, because each character is getting a 5% increased heal now versus what it was getting before. So that is a gigantic increase to how much your team-wide health is increasing. And that's something worth mentioning, right? And that covers the basics for getting into Ever Crisis. Although there is more in the game for you to explore, this should be a good foundation to get you started and having fun with the game. If you're ever lost at what you should do next, make sure you clear the missions located on the homepage at the bottom of the screen. I don't have them anymore because I've cleared all of them already, but if you're a new player, you should see it right at the bottom of the home screen here. That typically gives you a good idea of what you should be focusing on next and helps you from getting overwhelmed early by the amount of options in the game. More than anything, like I said, just have fun with the game. As much content gets pumped into this game, it's really not too difficult to jump in and have fun. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you want to keep in touch with my content, including weekly Ever Crisis videos, feel free to subscribe and come on by. I try to give my perspective on all new events and banners as best I can, live on Twitch every night at 9 p.m. Eastern. So you're more than welcome to stop by and say hi at my Twitch channel as well, which details are down in the description below. Most of all, I hope this video helps. If I didn't cover anything in particular that you're hoping I'd go over, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer. Obviously, this information is going to be dated over time, but I think this is a helpful resource at the start of 2025 as people start to get interested in the game and give it a chance. So if this helps, feel free to share it with a friend. Let them know. I'd love to help y'all have fun with the game. I really enjoy Ever Crisis as a game. I hope y'all do too. If there's anything you want me to go into more detail about, like certain summon fights, there's a ton of great people on YouTube that have already done a ton of great videos. Smelly Octopus is one that I've been following for a long time that does a lot of great content, a lot of great helpful free-to-play content as well to help you with certain summon quests. If you need anything else, if there's something that you can't find that you think would be super helpful, feel free to leave a comment down below, man. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you need some help with something. Maybe I can build a team that can help you clear some of the extra content. And yeah, appreciate y'all watching. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate y'all watching. If you haven't checked out any of my other content here, we do a variety of content both on Twitch and YouTube that you can check out here or on our Twitch channel. Make sure you check out our playlist. And as always, we'll see you again in the next one. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.